two friends of mine, Rob and Cindy Graham, who I've known for many years now, close to 30. They had a company called Talk America in Portland, Maine, and then recently moved to St. Pete, Florida after being in Sarasota for a number of years and set up a new company.
We're actually changing the name. It's Rob Graham Enterprises, but we're changing it to Meetings Tech.
Yeah.
Because we bought meetingstech.com, and meetings are what make us unique. So you're talking about brands, and in order to establish a brand, you have to stand for something. You have to be something. You have to have a differentiator. Like you were Shipyard, so other than Jim Cook, you were first.
Right.
You're second, right? So you have a positioning with Shipyard that's very unique in the industry. That's what, 6,000 deep now?
6,000, 7,000, and we were talking about that. So you had a brand that was named after yourself and your family name, and you thought it was important for you to switch, come up with something else that had more meaning for what you're doing.
Correct. We originally named the company Rob Graham Enterprises because we were going to go back into product marketing, and I have a little bit of a reputation there, and I thought it would be beneficial. But we're in the insurance space now, and my name means nothing to anyone. So what we do that's unique is we create an opportunity for licensed agents to have success. Yeah. We do the prospecting for them, and we set up meetings right to their calendar, so all they have to do is give us their availability. We do everything else. They just show up and sell. So it's a service that's really taken the market by storm.
And it's called Meeting Tech?
Meetings Tech, yeah. Meetings Tech, and we can do meetings in almost any vertical. We're in Medicare now. We're moving into wealth, which is really retirement. You know, the retirement situation in America is dismal. Half of the people reaching retirement age don't have any money. Yeah. And they think they're gonna live on their Social Security, and they can't. There's not enough money to live on. So we're going to go into that market and try to educate people. There's a huge financial illiteracy problem in America. People just don't know. Yeah. And we don't teach it in schools. We don't, if you didn't learn it from your parents, you're not going to know it.
Yeah. But the unique part about brands and branding is really coming up with a name that'll resonate, be remembered, and then apply to the future of when somebody thinks, okay, I need retirement, or I need a meeting, or I need to relate it. And in that space, they'll think of you, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And sometimes you have to define it. Yeah. They call it a unique selling proposition, a USP, and people reach for that a lot. You know what I mean? Because they're not original. Yeah. They haven't stood the test of time. Like your brands have withstood the test of time. Yeah. That matters.
Every time we turn around, we got to come up with a new name for a beer, right? So difficult sometimes because all these names have been taken. Did you research the trademark? Have you been able to trademark it, or is it something that you just did and nailed it that way? Because one of the things we talked about in this video is making it important that you could own it and trademark it or copyright it, right? Yep. So we spent a little bit of time talking about, for example, I work with Jim Keenan and Bernstein Shore, who does the trade, but we do an initial search. Robert Cochran does an initial search, and then we spend the extra money.
It's a real problem. We did a trademark search. We're clear. It's a pretty original concept. Yeah. We kind of invented it, and it was born out of a bunch of activity that we had undertaken, and one thing led to another, which led to another. And I'd love to tell you it was a stroke of genius on our part. It just wasn't. Yeah, it just kind of fell into place. Yeah. And so the key is getting behind it and promoting it. Yeah. Like, how do you, in your world, you promote differently than we do in our world. In our world, we spend money on advertising. And after you spent $20 million, $25 million, everybody knows your name. Before that, no one knows your name. So it just, you end up branding products as a byproduct of spending money to make sales.
One thing I loved about the direct response business is you knew pretty instantly if somebody responded to an ad, whether it was in a USA Today or on radio, or now it's all online, right? And you're doing other examples, and people need what you're selling to upgrade their Medicare, Medicaid, whatever the aspects are. But the thing that I've been really talking about is how difficult it is to hit a brand, and then make it work after that. Like with our vodka, Ice Pick vodka was actually, we had done an original drink that was a tea. And Ice Pick had meant was a vodka and tea drink, and my cousin Bruce Forsley came up with, he wanted a name. It was a beer tea drink that we made, and he wanted to name it Ice Pick, which we did. And the product itself wasn't as good as the name. So when we had the opportunity to come out with a vodka, Sean Corbett had it worked for me for a number of years, wanted to do a spirit, wanted to do a vodka. I said, we got a name, Ice Pick, because from that name, I always saw people want to try the product, just the name itself, Ice and Pick. And it was available because we had trademarked and kept the name, which was kind of unique. And then with our real estate company, Harborview Properties, I used to have Fred Forsley Realty, and I wanted to make it something that would be generic enough or mean something of, we're coastal, so we went with Harborview Properties. It's interesting now when you do another, say you do something else, how do you guys name something?
It's more art than science.
Yeah.
And a lot of it comes from experience and intuition and things, just like Ice Pick.
Yeah.
You just knew when you hit it, you knew.
Yeah.
You didn't know before, but after you did it, you knew.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it works for us in our world. Not saying that's how it works for everybody. Like I've never faced the challenges that you face with having to brand different types of beer.
Yeah.
I mean, how many beers do you have?
That's crazy. At least 30 at any one time with Sea Dog and Shipyard, and then you're coming up with something like we're drinking right now, the Shipyard IPA, but it's nitronated. So they've nicknamed it. Well, some people, we can't promote it this way, but in the UK they're calling it Golden Guinness. Obviously, you don't want to get in trouble with that. But so we're calling it a Golden Stout, and it's very smooth, right? It's a great beer.
Delicious.
Yeah. So Cindy is the support. You guys are a real team, which is really pretty cool. I've seen it. A lot of people have different relationships in. They designate who does what and where. Do you guys separate the load, or you cross over into each other's lane every once in a while?
I'd say we fairly well cross over. She's always in my lane.
Right, but I saw her at office. I was down visiting, which is a beautiful new building in St. Pete, and I saw her, not a big office, relatively big, but there were 3 people in it. I looked, your desks are right close to each other, so I don't know how long that'll work. Well, it's worked quite a while, right?
Yeah, we've been at it 30 years.
30 years, well.
Yeah, so we're probably not going to screw it up now.
You're
Yeah.
so lucky.
Here's a toast to 30 more.
Amen
Cheers.
to that. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Cheers.